Hello, inflation fighters. Thank you for joining me today on the channel, Penny Nanny. Going to be talking today about a new way of thinking about things, and I really want to know what you think about this stuff. So I'd be really curious to understand how you are looking at the whole world and bringing it back down to just your troop, your group, the people who matter the most to you, and living your life that way. Now, firstly, I want to apologize to you because I'm very tired. The new physical therapy exercises that I'm doing are very exhausting, and they take a lot out of me. So I'm trying supplements, exercising more as much as possible, even though the therapy does take it out of me. I try to make myself move, like, even this may sound ridiculous, but even when I'm doing laundry, I will put the basket in the laundry room and bring each item individually to where it belongs, just so that I'm getting some movement, which is good for my heart, and I need to be doing that. So, at any rate, but I wanted to talk about a new way of thinking, and firstly and foremostly, because we are talking about pantries and things like that, I want to talk about food and how we look at food. Now, growing up, we had every dinner, every supper was a meat, a potato, and a vegetable, and bread, and milk. That was basically what we had for dinner. And it was pretty typical, Well, now the struggle for most people is the meat and getting some that's affordable and nutrition, getting nutrition from it. So I also wanted to simplify my life a little bit, and I decided what I'm going to do is every week I'm going to make a pasta salad. I mean, I can switch it up. It can be tuna and peas like it usually is, or it can be anything else. But if I know every day what I'm going to be having, then I can base it also on the pasta that we're having that week. So if, for example, we had elbow macaroni, and I just made my pasta salad with that, and anything I could dig out of the fridge, which happened to be some questionable, some questionable sun-dried tomatoes and black olives and onions, and that's basically it. So it was a veggie pasta salad. That's what I made. So but I want to talk about too, for example, we had purchased, because it was a protein, some sausages, Italian sausages, that were $3 for a pound. And we thought that was a pretty decent price. So we used our certificate and bought up a bunch of that. But what I decided to do was to maybe stretch it and see. So when I made the pasta dish, I only used 2 sausages out of the 5 that were in the package. And I just sliced them and diced them in a way where every time you had a spoonful, you were also getting a piece of meat in there. I mean, with 2 sausages, so we can really stretch that far. So looking at that and looking at serving sizes of things, maybe I don't even need, maybe I'm happy with half of something, but to try that, and to, I work on cleaning out the fridge all the time to use for dishes and things like that. So the 3rd sausage that I cooked, I took out of its case and ground it up, and when we have pizza on Friday, we're going to use that. So it's a substantial amount. I mean, we have other meats we're going to be using, but I mean, it was enough. It looked like enough. So I think as long as it looks like it's enough and you can see it. But I mean, what do you think? I mean, are you using one chicken breast for dinner, splitting it in half, turning it into cutlets? Are you doing something different like that? And just, here's one example of where planning is good. I know now every day I'm having a pasta salad no matter what. And so on Monday I can cook up the pasta, make the salad. I'm good to go until Friday. So even though I have to keep adding a spoonful of mayonnaise every day so it doesn't dry out, at least I know it's very simple. Oh, it's pasta salad, pull it out. And that's helping me a lot when it comes to meal planning for myself during the day. Now I just need to work on breakfast. I've never been much of a breakfast person, and I'm gonna actually try to make my own iced coffee tomorrow. It's supposed to just be regular coffee. I mean, you make it, but you just pour it over ice. So we're gonna try it and see if it's decent. Hopefully it is, because that'll be a nice summer treat to have, especially when it's hot. Like, it's been muggy and sticky. And most people who live in Wisconsin don't like that, which is why they live in Wisconsin. Now, me on the other hand, I love it. I love to be in Florida. I love to, I think it was in 1991 or 1992. My husband and I went down to, it was our first trip since we had gotten married, I think 4 years earlier. And we finally had earned some vacation when we were working. And we went to Florida in July because it had been so rainy and even flooded that year that we wanted to be somewhere where we knew at least most of the day there would be sun and heat. Because along with the rain that year, it was very chilly. But I think I always kind of harken back to my grandmother-in-law, little Italian lady. Her nickname was Sassy, and she was an excellent cook. I mean, you wanted anything Italian, she could do it. And she would even use she came over here as a child, but she would still use some of the pronunciations of certain menu items or things like that. But anyway, she told me a story that when she arrived here, her father only stayed a little bit and then he left. So it was just her brother, and her mother. And she, as a young adult, got a job as a secretary. And she told me at the beginning of the week or right after her payday or something like that, she would go to the drugstore and buy a bunch of sandwich cookies. And that was her lunch every day. She had sandwich cookies. And, you know, she didn't complain about it. She had food to eat. She was happy. And I think about my grandparents a lot right now. Because, firstly, my physical ailments. I'm walking like my grandpa sometimes after he had a stroke. But, at any rate, I think about them often because they didn't have much. And I never recall them complaining, not one time. On my mother's side, there were 9 kids in the family, including her. And they ran a farm, and my grandfather worked at a paper mill. So that's where they got their cash. But they got the things they ate from their garden, from their cattle, from their chickens, things like that. So, I mean, they were never hungry, but they also weren't wealthy. My mom told me a story about one of my uncles. They had minute steaks, which is basically a square hamburger, and for dinner, and he had cut it into 4 and turned it into 4 sandwiches. So he made sure he was getting full one way or the other. But yeah, I think about them with their food stories at this time a lot. And thinking how smart it was of my grandfather to, you know, start the farm and then work at the mill, because he could take care and provide for his family that way. We've gotten so far away from those things now, you know, and it's not our fault. We have had, you know, corporate farms and corporate meat companies and things like that for probably as long as I've been alive. Well, maybe not, because as a kid there was a butcher that lived a couple houses away, and we would get hamburger from him. And sometimes we would get cheese products from our landlord, but you understand what I'm saying to you. So, but what do you think about that? Has your food attitude changed? Are you thinking differently about that stuff? Because I think in the end, it will help. And I know today is probably a boring video. There's no pantry haul, there's no recipe going on or anything like that. This is just a conversation because I'm really curious to know what you think. And if you've done anything to change things. If if you're making different priorities, if you're planning your entire meals differently, what you're doing. So I frequently watch people on YouTube, because I like to see how they organize things, and I learn things from that. I'm pretty excited because my reusable storage bags came today. So I'll be washing those out and using them later this week. But it's nice to know that I have them, just so I don't have to add sandwich bags to the list, add freezer bags to the list, because they're freezer safe. So yeah, but I hope you're well, and any prayers anybody wants to offer up for me, just to have more energy and feel more positive, because this is really emotionally draining. And my husband's been my caregiver since this happened, and it's stressful for him too. He worries about me when he's at work and things like that. So and it can make the family life a little challenging, even though we're very happily married and we love each other deeply and we have a close family. It's just that when something like this happens, it changes the dynamic of everything. I'm not really able to go anywhere yet or do anything for a long time. So hopefully I'll be able to recover to the point where my husband feels peace. I know he feels much more peace because he has seen me progress and those kind of things. But at the end of the day, it's still difficult when you carry the weight of, your plans are limited because of somebody else and things like that. And I get lonely during the day, and being here all by myself, but at least I can take care of myself, and I can take care of my pets, and I can do a lot of things that are productive. So what I'm wishing for you is to be well, be blessed, and know you're taken care of. Bye now.